You think 1970s soul food Christmas was all about the same old dishes? Think again. Black families across America were creating feasts that stretched dollars while filling tables with flavor and tradition. Let's dig into 30 cheap soul food Christmas dishes from the 1970s you need to try. Turkey wings and gravy were the 1970s answer to expensive whole turkeys, stretching holiday budgets while delivering all the flavor families craved. Wings were seasoned with garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, salt, and pepper, then browned in hot oil until the skin crisped golden. The wings were transferred to roasting pans, covered with rich gravy made from drippings and broth, then baked until the meat fell from the bone. Mothers bought wings by the flat since they cost a fraction of whole birds, yet fed families generously. The gravy soaked into rice or dressing, making every bite feel like celebration. Turkey wings appeared on Christmas tables throughout Black neighborhoods, proving that smart shopping created feasts rivaling any expensive spread. Smoked ham steaks were the weeknight luxury that became Christmas tradition when whole hams cost more than budgets allowed. Thick slices of smoked ham were fried in cast iron skillets until the edges caramelized and the fat rendered into crispy ribbons. Some cooks glazed them with brown sugar and pineapple juice, creating sticky sweetness that balanced the salt. Ham steaks cost far less per pound than whole hams, yet delivered the same smoky flavor families associated with holiday celebration. They cooked quickly, making them practical for busy Christmas mornings when ovens were occupied with other dishes. Children loved the crispy edges, while adults appreciated the economy. Smoked ham steaks proved that celebration didn't require spending beyond your means, just knowing how to make affordable cuts shine. Pig feet stew was the Christmas dish that connected 1970s tables to generations of Southern cooking tradition and thrifty wisdom. Pig feet were scrubbed clean, split, and simmered for hours with onions, garlic, bay leaves, and vinegar until the meat turned silky and the collagen melted into rich, unctuous broth. The texture was unlike anything else. Tender meat surrounded by gelatinous goodness that satisfied on cold December nights. Pig feet cost almost nothing at the butcher counter since most shoppers passed them by. But Black families knew their value, understanding that slow cooking transformed these humble cuts into something approaching luxury. The stew was served with rice or cornbread to soak up every drop. Pig feet stew reminded everyone that the best holiday cooking came from patience and tradition. Lima beans and rice was the simple Christmas side that stretched pennies into plates full of comfort and complete protein. Dried lima beans were soaked overnight, then simmered with ham hocks, onions, garlic, and bay leaves until creamy and tender. The beans were spooned over fluffy white rice, the cooking liquid becoming a rich gravy that tied everything together. Lima beans cost almost nothing and expanded dramatically during cooking, making a single bag feed large families. The ham hocks added smoky depth without requiring expensive cuts of meat. This dish appeared at Christmas dinners throughout Black communities in the 1970s, often overshadowed by flashier dishes, but quietly keeping everyone satisfied. Lima beans and rice proved that humble ingredients, prepared with care, created comfort worth celebrating. Turnip green Potlikker was the liquid gold that 1970s Black families refused to waste, knowing its value went beyond the greens themselves. After turnip greens simmered for hours with smoked meat, the remaining broth held vitamins, minerals, and deep savory flavor. Some families sipped it straight from cups, while others soaked cornbread in bowls of the greenish liquid. Potlikker was given to the sick and elderly, believed to restore strength. On Christmas, it represented the philosophy of waste nothing that sustained Black families through generations. Children learn to appreciate Potlikker by watching elders savor every drop. The practice connected 1970s tables to ancestors who understood nourishment came in many forms. Potlikker proved that soul food wisdom extended beyond recipes. Rutabaga with bacon was the overlooked vegetable that earned its place on 1970s soul food Christmas tables through sheer deliciousness. Rutabagas were peeled, cubed, and boiled until tender, then masked with butter and seasoned with salt and pepper. Crispy bacon pieces were folded throughout, adding smoky richness and satisfying crunch to the sweet, earthy vegetable. Rutabagas cost far less than sweet potatoes, but offered similar comfort and natural sweetness. The vegetable stored through winter, making it practical and affordable. Children who claim to hate vegetables often ask for seconds of bacon-studded rutabaga. The dish proved that creativity with humble ingredients could create new traditions worth continuing. Rutabaga with bacon showed that 1970s soul food embraced innovation alongside heritage. Fried okra with tomatoes was the summer garden dish that appeared on Christmas tables when families preserved their harvests to last through winter. Okra was sliced, dredged in seasoned cornmeal, and fried until crispy before being combined with stewed tomatoes seasoned with onion and pepper. The combination balanced the okra's texture with tomato acidity, while the cornmeal added satisfying crunch. Families who grew their own okra and tomatoes made this dish for almost nothing. It connected Christmas celebrations to summer gardens and the work of putting food by. Fried okra with tomatoes represented the cycle of seasons that shaped soul food traditions. The dish proved that Christmas abundance came from year-round planning. 7-layer salad was the 1970s potluck sensation that appeared at Black Christmas gatherings with dramatic layers visible through glass bowls. Iceberg lettuce formed the base, followed by layers of peas, celery, onions, cheese, bacon, and thick mayonnaise dressing on top. The salad was assembled hours ahead, allowing flavors to meld while the dressing sealed everything. Each serving scooped through all 7 layers, delivering crunch, creaminess, and variety in every bite. The dish was affordable since lettuce and frozen peas cost little, while the presentation made it feel special. 7-layer salad showed up at church dinners and family gatherings throughout the 1970s. The salad proved that soul food traditions could embrace new ideas while maintaining communal spirit. Watergate salad was the mysterious green dessert that swept through Black churches and family reunions during the 1970s Christmas season. Pistachio pudding mix was combined with crushed pineapple, miniature marshmallows, pecans, and whipped topping, creating fluffy sweetness unlike traditional soul food. Nobody knew exactly why it was called Watergate, but everyone agreed it was delicious and easy to make. The pale green color made it festive, and children loved its texture. All ingredients came from cans and boxes, making it affordable during busy holidays. Watergate salad represented the 1970s embrace of convenience while maintaining communal sharing spirit. The salad proved that Black Christmas tables welcomed new traditions alongside cherished old ones. Congealed cranberry salad was the jiggly showpiece that graced 1970s soul food Christmas tables with festive red color and tang. Cranberry sauce was mixed with flavored gelatin, crushed pineapple, celery, and pecans, then poured into molds and chilled until firm. The unmolded salad wobbled dramatically when carried to the table, drawing attention from guests. The combination of tart cranberries with sweet gelatin created complexity that cut through rich meats. Canned cranberry sauce cost little and stretched further when combined with other ingredients. The mold could be made days ahead, freeing oven space on Christmas. Congealed salads represented the 1970s love of creative presentation and make-ahead convenience. The cranberry version proved holiday traditions could be both practical and impressive. Hot water cornbread was the crispy fried bread that appeared alongside every 1970s soul food Christmas meal, its simplicity hiding deep roots. Cornmeal was mixed with boiling water and salt until it formed thick batter, then shaped into patties and fried until golden and crunchy. The exterior shattered while the interior stayed dense, perfect for soaking up Potlikker and gravies. Hot water cornbread required no eggs, milk, or leavening, making it affordable when budgets were tight. The technique came from African and Native American traditions passed through generations. Each family had preferred shapes, some making thin crisps, while others preferred thick pomes. Hot water cornbread proved that the simplest recipes often held the deepest heritage. Corn pudding was the creamy casserole that transformed humble canned corn into something decadent on 1970s Christmas tables. Cream-style corn was mixed with eggs, milk, butter, sugar, and flour, then baked until puffed and golden with caramelized edges. The texture fell between custard and souffle, sweet enough to almost pass for dessert, yet savory enough to accompany meats. Corn pudding cost little since canned corn was cheap and other ingredients were pantry staples. It could be assembled quickly and baked while other dishes finished. Children loved its sweetness while adults appreciated how it complemented ham and turkey. Corn pudding appeared at church potlucks and family dinners throughout the South. The dish proved that convenience ingredients could create something celebratory. And tomato pie was the savory summer dish that earned its way onto 1970s Christmas tables when families used home canned tomatoes preserved from gardens. A pre-baked pie crust was layered with thick tomato slices, fresh basil when available, and generous amounts of shredded cheese mixed with mayonnaise. The pie baked until bubbly and golden, its aroma filling kitchens with the promise of tangy, cheesy goodness. Each slice revealed layers of red tomato against creamy cheese topping. Tomato pie cost almost nothing when tomatoes came from jars families had put up themselves during summer. It provided vegetable dish and comfort food in one, satisfying both practical and indulgent needs. The pie connected winter celebrations to summer abundance. Tomato pie proved that preserving the harvest paid dividends at Christmas. Sakatumi cake was the 1970s phenomenon that became mandatory at Black Christmas gatherings, its cinnamon swirl and rich glaze making it irresistible. Yellow cake mix was enriched with sour cream, oil, and eggs, then layered with brown sugar, cinnamon, and pecans before baking into moist perfection. The cake earned its playful name from the popular comedy catchphrase, and saying it while serving became part of the fun. A simple glaze of powdered sugar and milk drizzled over the finished cake added sweetness and shine. The recipe appeared in church cookbooks and was passed between neighbors on index cards. Sakatumi cake proved that box mixes could be transformed into something special with clever additions. The cake represented 1970s creativity and community in every slice. 7-Up cake was the moist pound cake that used lemon lime soda as its secret ingredient, creating tender crumb and subtle citrus flavor. Butter, sugar, and eggs were creamed together, then flour and 7-Up were added alternately until the batter turned smooth and light. The soda's carbonation made the cake rise beautifully, while its citrus notes perfumed each slice. Baked in a bundt pan and glazed with powdered sugar icing, the cake looked impressive enough for any Christmas table. The recipe spread through Black communities via word of mouth, each baker adding personal touches. Some added lemon extract for brighter flavor, while others kept it simple. 7-Up cake proved that ingenuity with everyday ingredients created memorable desserts. The cake became a 1970s classic that families still request today. Lemon pound cake was the dense, buttery classic that anchored dessert tables at 1970s soul food Christmas celebrations with bright citrus punch. Real butter was creamed with sugar until fluffy, then eggs were added one at a time before flour and lemon juice joined the batter. The cake baked slowly until golden, its crust developing crunch while the interior stayed moist. Fresh lemon zest delivered fragrance that filled kitchens. Some bakers poked holes in the warm cake and poured lemon syrup through for extra moisture. Pound cake kept well for days, improving as flavors melded. Lemon pound cake proved that classic techniques with quality ingredients created timeless results. The cake represented the pride Black bakers took in perfecting recipes. German chocolate cake was the towering showpiece that appeared at 1970s Black Christmas gatherings, its coconut pecan frosting making it unforgettable. The chocolate cake layers were rich but not too sweet, providing perfect backdrop for the sticky, chunky frosting. The frosting was cooked on the stove top, combining evaporated milk, sugar, egg yolks, butter, vanilla, coconut, and pecans into caramel-colored deliciousness. Assembling the cake took patience, spreading frosting between layers and on top, while leaving the sides bare to show the dark chocolate. German chocolate cake required more effort than everyday desserts, which made it appropriate for special occasions. The cake proved that Christmas deserved extra effort in the kitchen. Families remembered who made the best version and requested it year after year. Pineapple upside down cake was the retro showstopper that emerged from cast iron skillets onto 1970s Christmas dessert tables with glistening caramelized fruit. Brown sugar and butter melted together in the skillet, then pineapple rings and maraschino cherries were arranged in the sticky mixture before batter was poured over top. After baking, the cake was flipped dramatically, revealing golden fruit embedded in caramel glaze. The presentation never failed to impress guests who watched the unveiling. Canned pineapple rings and cherries cost little, yet created stunning visual impact. The cake tasted of tropical sweetness, balanced by buttery richness. Pineapple upside down cake represented the 1970s love of dramatic presentation. The recipe proved that affordable ingredients could create celebration-worthy results. Chess pie was the simple custard dessert that proved 1970s Black bakers could create magic from nothing more than pantry staples. Sugar, butter, eggs, and a splash of vinegar or buttermilk, the filling was poured into homemade or store-bought crusts and baked until just set, its top developing characteristic golden crust. Chess pie required no fruit, nuts, or fancy ingredients, yet delivered satisfaction that rivaled complex desserts. The name's origin remained mysterious, though some said it came from just pie, spoken with southern drawl. Chess pie cost pennies to make, yet tasted rich and indulgent. The dessert proved that soul food excellence came from technique and intention, not expensive ingredients. Egg custard pie was the silky dessert that proved 1970s Black bakers could transform basic ingredients into something elegant. Eggs, sugar, milk, vanilla, and nutmeg were whisked together and poured into unbaked pie crust, then baked low and slow until the filling just set with barely a jiggle. The top developed golden color while the interior stayed creamy and delicate. Egg custard pie required careful timing since overbaking turned the silky filling rubbery. Mothers learned the technique from their mothers, passing down the feel for doneness that no recipe could capture. The pie cost almost nothing, yet tasted luxurious, satisfying sweet cravings without expensive ingredients. Egg custard pie proved that mastery of basics created desserts worth celebrating. Blackberry cobbler was the summer dessert that appeared on 1970s Christmas tables when families preserved wild berries picked from roadsides and fence lines. Blackberries were sweetened and thickened slightly, then topped with biscuit dough or batter before baking until bubbling and golden. The fruit turned jammy while the topping crisped and absorbed berry juices at the edges. Families who picked and preserved their own berries made this dessert for almost nothing beyond sugar and flour. Blackberry cobbler connected Christmas celebrations to summer foraging traditions that sustained communities for generations. Served warm with ice cream or cold cream, it reminded everyone that abundance came from knowing the land. The cobbler proved that preserved summer bounty could brighten even the darkest winter days. Apple Brown Betty was the thrifty dessert that turned stale bread and affordable apples into bubbling comfort on 1970s Christmas tables. Layers of buttered bread cubes alternated with sliced apples seasoned with cinnamon, nutmeg, and brown sugar, then baked until the top crisped and the apples softened. The bread absorbed apple juices while developing crunchy edges that contrasted with tender fruit. Brown Betty cost far less than pie, since it required no special crust making skills and used bread that might otherwise go to waste. The dish came together quickly, making it practical for busy holiday cooking. Children loved its sweetness, while adults appreciated the warm spices. Apple Brown Betty proved that resourcefulness created desserts every bit as satisfying as fancy alternatives. Boiled custard was the drinkable dessert that appeared at 1970s Black Christmas gatherings, served in cups and sipped like liquid comfort. Milk, eggs, sugar, and vanilla were cooked slowly on the stovetop, stirred constantly until the mixture thickened enough to coat a spoon. The custard was chilled and served cold, its richness falling somewhere between eggnog and melted ice cream. Making boiled custard required patience and attention, since the eggs could scramble if heated too quickly. Grandmothers passed down the technique, teaching younger cooks to feel when the custard reached perfect consistency. The drink cost little, yet tasted indulgent, providing festive refreshment without alcohol. Boiled custard proved that simple traditions carried forward created connection between generations. Ambrosia was the fruit salad that graced every 1970s Black Christmas table, its combination of citrus, coconut, and marshmallows creating festive sweetness. Mandarin oranges, pineapple chunks, coconut, marshmallows, and sometimes cherries were folded together with sour cream or whipped topping. The mixture was chilled until flavors melded and marshmallows softened. Ambrosia cost little since all ingredients came from cans and bags at any grocery store. Children loved its sweetness and the treasure hunt of finding favorite pieces. The dish required no cooking, making it ideal for busy holiday preparation. Ambrosia represented the 1970s embrace of convenient ingredients assembled with care. The salad proved that simple combinations created beloved traditions. Fruit cocktail cake was the easy dessert that turned canned fruit into moist celebration on 1970s Christmas tables throughout Black communities. Yellow cake batter was mixed with an entire can of fruit cocktail, juice and all, then baked until golden and topped with broiled coconut frosting. The fruit distributed throughout the cake, adding moisture and bursts of sweetness in every slice. The recipe appeared in church cookbooks and community recipe collections, passed between neighbors who appreciated its simplicity. Fruit cocktail cake required no special skills or expensive ingredients, just a box of cake mix and pantry staples. Children loved finding fruit pieces, while adults appreciated how quickly it came together. The cake proved that convenience and deliciousness could coexist beautifully. Peanut butter fudge was the Christmas candy that 1970s Black families made in batches, large enough to share with neighbors and fill gift tins. Sugar, milk, and butter were boiled to softball stage. Then peanut butter and vanilla were beaten in until the mixture turned thick and creamy. Poured into buttered pans and scored while still warm, the fudge set into squares that satisfied both sweet and salty cravings. Peanut butter cost less than chocolate, while delivering protein and richness that made small pieces surprisingly filling. The candy kept well, lasting through the holiday season when stored properly. Making fudge became a family activity, with children watching for the right consistency. Peanut butter fudge proved that homemade candy created memories store-bought versions never could. Divinity candy was the cloud-like confection that appeared at 1970s Black Christmas gatherings when the weather cooperated and humidity stayed low. Sugar syrup was boiled to hardball stage, then slowly poured into beaten egg whites while mixing continuously until the candy turned glossy and held its shape. Spoonfuls were dropped onto wax paper where they set into pillowy mounds. Pecans were often pressed into tops for crunch. Divinity required patience in dry weather since humidity prevented proper setting, making successful batches feel like small victories. The candy looked elegant enough for any gift box, despite costing almost nothing. Divinity proved that technique and timing created confections rivaling expensive store-bought treats. Bourbon balls were the adult Christmas treat that appeared at 1970s Black holiday gatherings, their boozy sweetness reserved for grown-up palates. Crushed vanilla wafers were mixed with powdered sugar, cocoa, corn syrup, chopped pecans, and bourbon, then rolled into small balls and coated with more powdered sugar. The confections improved with age as flavors melded, making them ideal for preparing ahead. Bourbon balls required no cooking and came together quickly once ingredients were assembled. They appeared on crystal plates at parties, their presence signaling that the gathering was for adults. The recipe traveled through communities on handwritten cards, each family adjusting bourbon levels to taste. Bourbon balls proved that Christmas treats could be sophisticated without being complicated. Rum cake was the boozy bunt that became a 1970s Black Christmas sensation, its tender crumb soaked with buttery rum glaze. Yellow cake mix was enriched with instant pudding, oil, eggs, and rum, then baked in a bundt pan until golden. The warm cake received generous soaking with glaze made from butter, sugar, and more rum, creating moist richness in every slice. Some bakers used rum extract when alcohol wasn't desired, while others poured generously for maximum effect. Rum cake traveled well and actually improved after a day or two as flavors developed. The recipe spread through church circles and neighborhood networks. Rum cake proved that box mixes could be transformed into something memorable with clever additions and proper technique.
Oxtail stew transformed the tail of cattle into fall-off-the-bone tender meat swimming in rich, gelatinous gravy that coated everything perfectly when served over white rice. The oxtails were browned first to develop deep flavor, then slowly braised with onions, carrots, celery, tomatoes, and red wine or broth for hours until the meat became incredibly tender and rich. The bones released collagen and marrow, thickening the sauce naturally and creating richness that couldn't be achieved any other way with cheaper ingredients. This wasn't quick food, but patient food, requiring hours of low heat to transform tough connective tissue into silky texture worth waiting for. Families served this on special occasions despite the humble ingredient because the preparation demanded time and attention that showed love clearly. In the 1970s, oxtails were considered throwaway cuts that butchers sold cheaply, perfect for Black families who understood their potential for transformation into something special. The dish represented culinary alchemy, showing how time, technique, and patience could transform the least desirable cuts. Field peas and rice, better known as Hoppin John, was more than a meal. It was a wish cooked into being. On the surface, it was simple. Black-eyed peas simmered slowly with onions, a bit of salt pork or ham hock for flavor, and spooned generously over rice. But each ingredient carried meaning. The peas stood for coins, the rice for abundance, and if greens were added, they symbolized wealth and growth in the new year to come. Families believed that eating it on Christmas or New Year's Day would bring luck, but it was the taste, smoky, earthy, and deeply satisfying, that made it beloved. The scent of simmering peas filled the home long before the first bowl was served. It was cheap to make but rich in comfort, a dish that turned thrift into celebration. For those who had little, it offered the promise of more. For those who had plenty, it was a reminder of humility. Hoppin John was food that bridged hope and hunger, linking every year to the next with a spoonful of faith. Black walnut pound cake carried the wild woods straight into the holiday kitchen with a perfume unlike any other. Foragers collected the hard-shelled nuts each autumn, cracking them carefully to release the dark, robust kernels inside. The cake batter, rich with butter and eggs, absorbed the strong, earthy flavor of the walnuts, baking into a loaf dense enough to slice thin and savor slowly. Served at Christmas or family reunions, the cake announced both celebration and the success of gathering nature's bounty. Children helped shell the nuts, their hands stained brown from the husks, a seasonal badge of honor. Neighbors traded slices wrapped in wax paper as gifts, spreading cheer through the community. Today, imported walnuts and commercial cakes have replaced the ritual, but the memory of that deep, almost smoky taste lingers for those who once enjoyed a slice with coffee while snow fell outside and the house smelled of spice and toasting nuts. Ham biscuits made with country ham and soft dinner rolls became handheld sandwiches that children devoured, the salty ham contrasting perfectly with the sweet, buttery rolls that held everything together. Mothers would slice country ham paper thin, the intensely salty, cured meat packed with flavor that needed only small amounts to satisfy. Then tuck the slices into soft dinner rolls that had been split and buttered. Some families brushed the tops of the assembled biscuits with melted butter and baked them briefly to warm everything through and create slightly crispy tops. The combination of salty, savory ham with soft, slightly sweet rolls created perfect flavor balance that kept people coming back for more. In 1970s Black households, ham biscuits represented Southern tradition, appetizers that could be prepared ahead and served at room temperature. Children loved ham biscuits because they were familiar comfort food in easy-to-eat form, requiring no plates or utensils and perfect for grabbing. Collard greens with smoked turkey and hot pepper vinegar were Christmas dinner tradition that proved vegetables could be the star of the plate. Black mothers started preparation Christmas Eve, washing greens leaf by leaf to remove every speck of grit. The greens were cooked low and slow with smoked turkey necks or wings, onions, garlic, and the secret addition, a ham hock for extra richness. The pot simmered for hours until the greens turned dark and tender, the broth becoming Potlikker so flavorful it could be sipped alone. The finishing touch was hot pepper vinegar, white vinegar infused with hot peppers for weeks, splashed over the greens just before serving. The vinegar brightened the rich greens and added heat that cut through their earthiness. These greens appeared on Christmas tables alongside ham and turkey, often eaten with cornbread to soak up the Potlikker. The ham hock addition and the hot pepper vinegar technique stayed secret because these created depth and complexity that plain greens couldn't match. Families baked it together, often with each person responsible for one layer, transforming the act of dessert making into a ritual of togetherness. The taste was bold, smoky, and sweet, carrying the flavor of hearth and patience. It was more than food. It was a story of endurance, of hands working side by side, of sweetness that came slowly but stayed long. Molasses stacked cake reminded everyone that celebration was not about haste or wealth. It was about care layered over time, one thin circle of love after another. Neckbones and potatoes simmered together became winter comfort food that warmed kitchens and filled bellies when cold weather made hunger feel even more desperate and urgent. Pork neck bones were browned first to develop flavor, then covered with water, potatoes, onions, and seasonings before simmering until meat fell from bones easily. The potatoes absorbed the porky richness, becoming creamy and flavorful while the meat turned silky and tender with hours of patient cooking. This one-pot meal required minimal attention once assembled, making it perfect for busy mothers managing multiple responsibilities throughout long days. The bones released gelatin and marrow into the broth, creating body and richness that made the dish feel more substantial than its simple ingredients suggested it would. In the 1970s, neck bones cost almost nothing per pound, and potatoes were among the cheapest vegetables available year-round in any market. Neck bones and potatoes represented making something from nothing, proving that the cheapest cuts combined with basic vegetables could create genuine comfort. Cinnamon-spiked red velvet cake was Christmas tradition that separated real bakers from box mix pretenders. Black mothers made this from scratch using cocoa powder, buttermilk, and red food coloring. But the secret was ground cinnamon stirred into the batter, just enough to add warmth without announcing itself. The cake was light and tender, with subtle chocolate flavor that let the cream cheese frosting shine. That frosting was made with real cream cheese, butter, and powdered sugar, beaten until fluffy. Some families added pecans, others kept it smooth, but everyone agreed that cream cheese frosting from a can was an insult. The three-layer cake was assembled with generous frosting between each layer, then covered completely until no red showed. It was refrigerated overnight so the flavors could marry and the cake could firm up. The cinnamon addition stayed secret because it was subtle but essential, creating complexity that made people wonder what made this red velvet different from all others. And cream cheese and olive pinwheels, made with softened cream cheese mixed with chopped green olives and rolled in tortillas, created tangy, savory bites. Children found intriguing. Aunties would soften cream cheese and mix it with finely chopped green olives, pimentos, and sometimes a touch of garlic powder, spreading the mixture evenly on flour tortillas. The tortillas were rolled tightly, wrapped in plastic, and refrigerated for hours to firm up before being sliced into colorful pinwheels. Each slice revealed swirls of white cream cheese dotted with green olive pieces, creating visual appeal that drew children's attention. In 1970s, Black households, these pinwheels represented creative entertaining, showing how simple ingredients could become elegant appetizers. Children loved them because they were fun to look at, easy to eat, and introduced them to olives in a creamy format that made the vegetables more approachable and less intimidating than eating them whole. Stewed okra and tomatoes brought the memory of summer into the chill of winter kitchens. When gardens lay bare and fresh produce was only a memory, jars of okra and tomatoes, carefully canned during warm months, were pulled from shelves like treasures. They were simmered together with onions, peppers, and sometimes a touch of bacon grease, bubbling until the stew thickened into something rich and comforting. The okra's gentle stickiness turned the tomatoes silky, giving the dish its signature texture, smooth, savory, and full of life. The color alone, deep red mixed with green, was enough to make a table feel festive, like Christmas painted in food. Served beside rice or a slice of cornbread, it warmed bellies and spirits alike. Stewed okra and tomatoes was never about luxury. It was about wisdom, about saving the best of the earth and making it last. Each spoonful was the taste of sunlight captured in a jar, a promise that even in the coldest season, the memory of warmth and work could live on through food. Pickled shrimp marinated in vinegar, oil, and spices created tangy, flavorful bites that adventurous children tried. The cold, tender shrimp infused with herbs and aromatics that made them taste complex. Aunties would boil shrimp until just cooked, then peel them and place them in jars or bowls where they were covered with a marinade of vinegar, oil, sliced onions, bay leaves, peppercorns, and sometimes lemon slices. The shrimp marinated for at least 24 hours, absorbing the tangy, aromatic flavors and developing a pickled taste that was both refreshing and sophisticated. The marinated shrimp were served cold with toothpicks for easy serving, the onions and bay leaves removed or left in depending on family preference. In Black households during the 1970s, pickled shrimp represented make-ahead convenience, appetizers that actually improved with time. Children who tried pickled shrimp discovered seafood could be tangy and bright. Persimmon seed coffee emerged when imported beans were rare or too costly for enslaved communities. Wild persimmons dropped their fruit in autumn, and the hard seeds inside were washed, dried, and roasted until dark and fragrant. Ground and steeped in hot water, they produced a warm, nutty beverage with no caffeine but plenty of comfort on cold mornings. This practice carried forward after the Civil War, especially during wartime shortages when coffee imports faltered again. Families across the South roasted persimmon seeds alongside chicory or other local substitutes, proving the durability of this inventive method. The gentle flavor and toasty aroma made it a beloved alternative long after necessity faded. Today, a few heritage festivals still brew persimmon seed coffee to honor the ingenuity of those who first discovered its rich taste. The drink reminds us that creativity in the face of scarcity can yield traditions that outlast the circumstances that gave birth to them, turning survival into a legacy of flavor and resilience. Bread pudding with cane syrup was the dessert that proved nothing, not even stale bread, was ever truly lost. Pieces of leftover loaves were soaked in warm milk, beaten eggs, and a heavy drizzle of homemade cane syrup until they softened into something new. The mixture baked slowly, filling the room with a smell deep and sweet enough to make mouths water long before it was ready. Once out of the oven, it was sticky, tender, and golden on top, like sunshine trapped in sugar. For families who could not afford store-bought sweets, this was luxury in a pan. The cane syrup gave it a depth that regular sugar never could, a taste of smoke, soil, and patience. Every bite carried the memory of hands stirring, saving, and savoring. Bread pudding with cane syrup was warmth made edible, a Christmas comfort born straight out of resourcefulness and love. Cornbread dressing made from scratch became holiday tradition that stretched expensive turkey into meals feeding extended families gathering from across cities and states for celebration. Day-old cornbread was crumbled and mixed with sautéed onions, celery, sage, chicken broth, and eggs, then baked until golden on top and creamy inside with perfect texture. This wasn't stuffing cooked inside the bird, but southern dressing baked separately in pans, allowing better control over texture and flavor throughout. The cornbread absorbed the broth and seasonings, becoming savory and moist with crispy edges that everyone fought over at dinner tables. Families made huge pans because this was as important as the turkey itself, sometimes more important given its cultural significance to gatherings. In the 1970s, cornmeal was cheap enough that making cornbread for dressing didn't stress budgets even during expensive holiday meals celebrated properly. Each family had their own variations, with recipes guarded and passed down through generations of women who took pride in their dressing. Honey-glazed cornbread dressing was the side dish guests returned for thirds of, completely different from dry sage-heavy stuffing. Black mothers made their own cornbread in cast iron until dark and crusty, then crumbled it and left it out overnight. The cornbread was mixed with sautéed celery, onions, and the secret trinity, bell peppers that added sweetness and color. The liquid wasn't just broth, but turkey drippings, chicken stock, and the secret addition. Honey stirred into melted butter. Eggs bound it together, sage and thyme added savory depth, but the honey created complexity. Some families added chopped pecans, others stirred in crumbled sausage, but the honey butter mixture was universal. The dressing was spread in deep pans, dotted with butter, and baked until the top crisped while the inside stayed moist. The honey caramelized slightly, creating sweet spots that contrasted with savory richness. Mothers guarded the honey technique because it separated good from unforgettable dressing.
Which 1970s soul food Christmas dish brings back memories for you? Drop it in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more forgotten recipes from Black kitchens.